You're very welcome. In this debate, we're going to talk about the ethnic and religious groups in Syria after the regime fall in Syria in the December 8th. Um, the main group after Arabs in Syria are Kurds. Kurds consist 15% of Syria's population. 3.5 to 4 million Kurds live in Syria. You know the geography? They have a very special geography. It extends from Afrin to Derek, which borders Iraqi Kurdistan region. This debate will be with our two guests. One of our distinguished guests is Christiane Neumann, ambassador of Germany to Iraq, and Siamend Hajo, head of external relations Syrian Kurdistan Front. You're very welcome. Madam Ambassador, I would like to know what's the German strategy in this phase. What is it toward Syria, and how is it going to deal with Ahmed Sharal's new government? What is your strategy for ethnic and religious groups in Syria, especially the Kurds?
Which
First of all, thank you very much for having me, and congratulations to everybody who made it this far today. It's been a long day already, so these are the people who have the necessary energy and stamina to stay on. Second, already from the title you know that I am not the top Syria expert of the German government, simply because I'm the ambassador in this country. And unfortunately, the top experts could not make it. But still, I will try to address the issues you've just brought up. I think it's an approach that is not a national German approach, but it is an approach of the international community, especially the member states of the European Union, together with other partner countries. And it is, first and foremost, a congratulations to the Syrian people who actually now have a huge opportunity, but are also facing enormous challenges. So the dictator is gone, but now comes the very, very tough process of how to rebuild and build a modern democratic Syria that actually, and that's what you were referring to, includes every member of the Syrian society. And the richness of Syria is its diversity. It is a fact that you have several religions, that you have ethnic minorities, and they should all be involved. So this is what we had. It's a comprehensive process. Everybody should have a say in what the Syria of the future should look like. This is why the national dialogue is so important, to involve all the actors. They should all have a say. They should be able to contribute to it. And it is up to the Syrian people, which is everyone, to define where they want to go. That's why this participatory process that is in the making now, the first consultations have started, is so important to have everybody in. And if you had a look at what was decided at the Paris conference on Syria, then you can actually see that the inclusiveness is one of the most important criteria also in the decisions on how can we support a future Syria. The challenges are abundant. So there is a step-by-step process, of course, and it is a process of conditionality. So as you may know, that EU foreign ministers this Monday took the next step in lifting or suspending some sanctions against Syria to make sure that there is a possibility of kick-starting the economy. Because unless you have a functioning economy, there's little you can do in state building, and therefore you need to work on that. But it is a suspension, which means if things do not go into the direction of an inclusive Syria, then there's a possibility of reinstating very quickly. Let me stop at this point.
There's another question. Now we know the fighting is less in the Kurdish areas, but still militia groups are fighting the SDF in Kurdish areas, who Turkey is backing this militia groups, and SDF is a part of the international coalition against ISIS, which includes US, Germany, France, and many other countries. You, as the partners of the SDF in the fight against ISIS, how can you prevent the recent attacks against the Kurds in northern Syria?
That's a big challenge, which actually we are not actively involved on the ground. So one of the points, again, is to make sure that you manage to have an inclusive political process that involves all actors, so that you can actually find a compromise that works for all, because it is about one country. So that is one of the elements. And the rest of the security issues is, of course, being addressed currently also by SDF on the ground, supported by the coalition. And I don't have a crystal ball that can give you what is going to happen in 2-3 months. So this is a step-by-step process where we actually need to see how also the state can project the power. But that is also part of the negotiations between the central government and, of course, SDF, which is another process that is happening. But again, joint actions.
Mrs. Siamend, you insist very much on protecting the minorities in Syria and the diversity of Syria. As I mentioned before, Kurds are at least 4 million people in Syria. Besides Kurds in Laziqiyah, Dara, Deir ez-Zor, and other areas in Syria. Dr. Azad says Deir ez-Zor is part of Kurdistan, but I'm not sure about that. He said Deir ez-Zor is Kurdish and its name is also Kurdish. But my question is, don't you believe that federalism can protect and ensure the rights of every nation and minority in Syria? We should understand that federalism is not only the right of Kurds, it's of all the Syrian people. What's federalism? Federalism is that authority and power should be shared. The main problem of Syria was, since its establishment, the power was monopolized in the hands of a small group. They were controlling everything. But federalism demands that decisions should be mutual, should be taken in partnership, and this is not only good for the Kurds, it's good for all the Syrians. For example, if you can see, sometimes Deir ez-Zor needs to build a school. Deir ez-Zor's people know better where the school should be built, not the people of Damascus. I mean, the Damascus should be convinced that federalism is not only good for the Kurds, but a necessity for all the components of the Syrian society. In my opinion, every nation, federalism is different from a country to another country. The federalism we have in Germany is different from the one in Switzerland or in India. The people should establish a federalism according to the history of its country. As I said, in Syria, the power used to be in the hands of a small group. What can we do to share this power? The German ambassador is here. She knows. Why did Almania become a federalism? The the main parties, Social Democratic Party and Christian Democratic Party, some of them did not want federalism, but British, Americans, and French imposed federalism. They said we should have a shared power between German states because the power used to be in the hands of a small group in Germany. In Syria, we had the same. The power was disastrously was a disaster to be left in the hand of only one group. The federalism protects the rights of Kurds. The new roadmap and the new conditions in Syria, the new authority, they claim that all citizens are equal. But this equality is not protecting the rights of the citizens equally. We need guarantees as Kurds. Many democratic countries give guarantees to ethnic groups, those groups who have faced suffering in the history, like democratic countries have equal rights for women and men. They say women should have those rights to progress. Kurds are in the same situation in Syria. We need those rights in Syria. In Syria, all the authorities that have been established before, they had the least participation from Kurds. They didn't let Kurds to participate in the authorities or establishments. Now, when we have a transitional government in Syria, you cannot even find one Kurd in it. Yesterday, there was a national dialogue community. There was only one Kurd participating in it. What this tells us? It tells us there should be constitutional guarantees for us. And we believe a federal system can guarantee our rights if we have a federal region constituted in constitution, stipulated in the constitution, can guarantee our rights. We can have an autonomous region like Italy, which is a central country with many autonomous regions. We can have the same, an autonomous region with a central Sunni government. The Sunni central government can have authority over our autonomous region. But Kurds are not alone in this. Other groups are also asking for autonomy and self-rule. There can be 4 self-ruling regions in Syria. But I don't see this possible in this situation. They are not ready to agree on this because the new administration is not very different from the Ba'athist regime regarding the Kurds. They do not recognize the Kurds, the new leaders of Syria. Still, they have not met the politically become a federalism. The main parties, Social Democratic Party and Christian Democratic Party, some of them did not want federalism, but British, Americans, and French imposed federalism. They said we should have a shared power between German states because the power used to be in the hands of a small group in Germany. In Syria, we had the same. The power was disastrously was a disaster to be left in the hand of only one group. The federalism protects the rights of Kurds. the new roadmap and the new conditions in Syria, the new authority, they claim that all citizens are equal. But this equality is not protecting the rights of the citizens equally. We need guarantees as Kurds. Many democratic countries give guarantees to ethnic groups, those groups who have faced suffering in the history, like democratic countries have equal rights for women and men. They say women should have those rights to progress. Kurds are in the same situation in Syria. We need those rights in Syria. In Syria, all the authorities that have been established before, they had the least participation from Kurds. They didn't let Kurds to participate in the authorities or establishments. Now, when we have a transitional government in Syria, you cannot even find one Kurd in it. Yesterday there was a national dialogue community. There was only one Kurd participating in it. What this tells us? It tells us there should be constitutional guarantees for us. And we believe a federal system can guarantee our rights if we have a federal region stipulated in constitution, stipulated in the constitution, can guarantee our rights. We can have an autonomous region like Italy, which is a central country with many autonomous regions. We can have the same, an autonomous region with a central Sunni government. The Sunni central government can have authority over our autonomous region. But Kurds are not alone in this. Other groups are also asking for autonomy and self-rule. There can be 4 self-ruling regions in Syria. But I don't see this possible in this situation. They are not ready to agree on this because the new administration is not very different from the Ba'athist regime regarding the Kurds. They do not recognize the Kurds, the new leaders of Syria. Still, they have not met the political leaders of the Kurds. Even the TikTokers in Syria are always trying to take photos with Ahmed Sharah, but not even one of them is ready to receive a Kurdish leader. They want to keep Kurds out of the political process. But Mr. Sharah hasn't received any Kurdish leaders, but some other officials have received Kurdish officials and they have made dialogues. Is it the problem with the Kurds that the Kurds are not ready to go to Damascus, or is it because of the Damascus? It's both. Many delegations went to Damascus, but they have not received them. Ahmed Sharah is not ready to see them. They met with Mazloum Kobane, but as it appears to us, Ahmed Sharah is not ready to get involved with Kurds. He takes picture with his people, but he didn't even take a picture with Mazloum Kobane. I think they have a problem with Kurds. But on the other hand, it's also true that we, the Kurds, we have some faults. Ahmed Sharah and the HTS were able to control Aleppo and a big part of Syria. In a very short time, they established an transitional government, but we, the Kurdish political parties, we didn't manage to know what we want in Syria. We didn't manage to get united. We should have had one Kurdish delegation in Syria, in Damascus, to discuss our main issues with them. This is a big fault of us. We are living in a very important times. Before, when the revolution started in Syria, Kurdish leaders were able to meet each other and to unite on one agenda. There were two main political parties, but now it's more important than the beginning of the revolution. Now there is a new government, and we have to be involved to have our decision. But yeah, we fail to tell them what is our unified vision for the future Syria.
As there's a political view, there should have been. I don't see any clear political view. You, as German government, how do you see Syrian future? How do you see those challenges facing? How do you see the government of Ahmed Shara? And how you react and treat with this government?
I think what we all have seen is that, of course, everybody listens. And we listen to announcements, and we listen to what are the political plans. But I think I'm not the first to say it. Of course, this has to be followed by actions. So one is announcing, the second is the action. Is actually what has been announced being implemented? And that is this inclusive process. And I wanted to underline what you just said. The view of the individual minorities are heard the stronger the more you speak with a united voice, make your voice heard. And the size of the minorities is different. So the risk of leverage, one being bigger, one being smaller, but this is exactly how you can be heard more in such political processes. I know this is not an easy one, but it's also one of the roles that we actually play as foreign actors, in a way that we also not only listen, but we also work a lot with the diaspora, because diaspora has a huge role in this to play as well. So it's this link up. And of course, we need your input to also support a consensus, political consensus that is as broad and includes as many views, to create a Syria of the future that actually has a place for everyone. I think that's the core element. You don't want to exclude again. So this inclusive process, which you also need to kickstart an economy, to actually kickstart a political system that people, the Syrian people, feels represented in and not excluded. So the choices are to be made by the Syrian people. We will not make the choices for the Syrian people, but we can be the ones who listen to the concerns, who can listen to what is actually your future plan. What do you want to see? And this is why it's a cautious approach. Yes, we listen, we hear, but we also want to see the actions that are preconditions for next steps.
Another point is that I want to Ahmed Shara is still not out of terror list. Not Europe, not Germany, not US. Other commanders, Syrian commanders that currently has a position in the new government, in HTS, and this is the issue. a lot of people that think about it. From one side, he's still a terrorist, and now he's been treated not as a terrorist person.
I think we all are in the field of a cautious approach. So there is no national listing, so there is no German terrorist list, it's a European list, which also means it takes the EU to take a decision. It's not a national decision. But the point is, as I just said, we hear announcements, but we also want to see proof of it in reality. So I think we share the cautious approach that actually partners here in the region take too, to see where does this move? Does it really go into the direction that has been announced? And that's why we are so curious to see what comes out of the national dialogue, because that's a core element to move the country along. Are we getting into the constitutional process to have a new democratic constitution? What about elections, etc.? We are in this very difficult transition period where nothing is set in stone yet. So our positions are not set in stone, they are flexible, but we react either way, and that depends on what happens really on the ground.
Those pass. So I don't want to take you a lot of time. My colleague Syamend take a lot of time. I want to take 3 questions. First, who put his hand up? Please ask the question straight away. The mic, please.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for your enlightening us. We know all Germany is one most powerful country in the European Union and has more powerful economy. For any reason, if United States of America left Syria, what will be the position of Germany or European Union? Do you leave SDF alone to be slaughtered by Turkey and new government in Syria under the pretext of terrorists, knowing the background of Syrian government? That's my question to you. Now, we can Bakurdiye?
لا بيوش لك سباس نسخش تمام اخوان ماك البدل دسخ ميكروفون دوره نه زحمه.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. If I summarize your, first of all, I am a researcher in political economy. If I summarize Your Excellency about the Syrian situation, can I ask, do you, German, believe that we need new Berlin-Baghdad project in new era of the Syrian situation? This is my first question. And the second one, we are seeing that if you compare the Syrian situation in 2 centuries ago, we are seeing most of the conflicts are stopped, or we can say most of the conflicts in Syria, because Syria's geopolitical is very important for all of the, for global we can see. But right now, there is a difference between century. Why? Because economic situation is different. Why? There is a regional and there is a, we can see global countries are involved in Syria to negotiate between the minority for the human rights. Do Germans believe that UN rules need reform in rights to see different rules in Syria? Why? Because if you compare before, or we can see after, in post-Cold War, there is many different situations in Syria. If I say P5 in Security Council need new country, need new rules to see different situations for minority rights. And the third question is, right now, as His Excellency President Echevin Barzani mentioned that KRG as a Kurdistan region of Iraq could could take any rules to negotiate peace building according to the reconstruct the human rights of all of the minority. Right now, if we take any rules for peace buildings, and we are, as an economy, we grow this comparing 2 centuries ago because we have an institute and also we have a parliament, we have a governorate. How we can help all of the regional countries to reconstruct peace building according to the economic growth. Thank you very much.
قالك سباس وكيدن كسكاي البر فرس كرمك
My question is for Frau Christiane. Thank you for your speech. My question is, we know that Germany received a lot of refugees during when Frau Angela Merkel was in power. Now, when German government decide to deport all these refugees, or some of them at least, I don't hope that, but what are the criteria that German government will use to decide whether a country like Germany is safe? Is it the economy, safety, or political stability? Thank you.
قالك سباس دلخص كرمك
Okay. Okay, we have a good time. Okay, we have good time. Now, please, doctor. Thank you, Miss Christiane. Welcome to Kurdistan. My question is that I always like a blind person, just looking and question and ask how the Kurdish question will happen. What will happen? You are an ally of Kurds. You support Kurds. You welcome a lot of Kurds and benefited from their workforce. What do you say about Syrian Kurdish question in Syria? Do you think Ahmad Shara will accept federalism? Because Syrian Kurds fight against ISIS, fight against Turkey, fight in fierce fighting. The women fighters made history. What's your opinion? What will happen to Syrian Kurds? All the questions were toward German. There's nearly 2 million Kurds. Siamend is one of the Kurds who lived in and grew in Syria, Germany. I was 16 when I went to Germany. Most of the Syrian Kurds live in Germany. And in general, 2 million Kurds, most of them Syrian Kurds, because a lot of Kurds look up to Germany, had a lot of hopes on Germany and German government. Doesn't make difference. They want to for Germany to make something for Kurds.
All right, that was a very long list. I hope I still remember all the questions. So number one, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball, so I will not go into any speculations. So your question, I cannot give an answer to, because usually when these situations arise, then the allies get together, because none of us is in this alone. So unfortunately, you will get no answer from me, because I can't speculate on this one. Sorry for that one. Of course, the economy, you know it. I mean, the sentence is the economy, guys. So if we want to do something good for the Syrian people, and that's for anybody, it doesn't matter which ethnicity, which religion, it is economic welfare. It is the possibility to earn a decent living, to feed your family, and to feel at home. So this is something that I would say the Kurdish community here, this is how you could help. It is the economic ties that have always been there. It's not new. It's not something that has to be reinvented. So there may have been interruptions, there may have been difficulties, but the people-to-people, human, inter-human contacts are so important to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because economically, of course, the situation in Syria is very difficult. And it takes a lot of stamina to get through this. And at the same time, Iraq as a country has gone through similar, very difficult times and has collected quite some experience. So this is where perhaps also Iraq could offer experience that was gathered here in the whole economic transition process to help build a healthy and solid economy just across the border. And you know, you were in one region. So interregional trade, for instance, is the top topic in this one. With regard to the question, what kind of future state structure do we see for Syria? That's not for us. And that's the same as you are asking. This is not our decision. This is not for us to say. This is a sovereign decision of the Syrian people. What kind of setup as a state they want to have and how they want to set it up. This is why the national dialogue is so important. Nobody from the outside can dictate that and will dictate that. That's a choice on the ground. And in a way also, what is the structure going to be and how are the relations going to be also among the Kurdish areas? I cannot tell you. I will not be able to tell you because that's not for us to put in and to say this is how it has to be. Because it's very different. It was mentioned, it's very different in Germany. We are a federal state because of very specific reasons. But every country has its own choice how to do it. And nobody from the outside can actually impose that.
Mr. Siamend, if you have a last word, thank you very much. All the questions were directed to Mrs. Ambassador. I would like to thank Rudaw and wish you best of luck. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador Christiane, Hohmann and Siamend Hajo. Thank you for being with us to discuss the Syrian situation. We thank you again for your answers and your views.